Every Halloween, the world fills with ghosts, vampires, and monsters. But these creatures aren't just costumes or scary stories. Each one began long ago, in ancient myths, curses, and religions that once shaped how humans understood death and fear. Tonight, we're peeling back the mask of Halloween to meet the ancient gods and monsters that inspired its most terrifying legends. The vampire isn't just a creature of Gothic fiction, it's one of humanity's oldest nightmares. In ancient Greece, the Empusa and Lamia were seductive demons who drained men's blood at night. In Eastern Europe, peasants feared the strigoi and upir, restless corpses that rose from the grave to drink life from the living. Before modern medicine, people blamed these blood drinkers for disease and death. When Bram Stoker wrote Dracula in 1897, he transformed centuries of fear into a single immortal being, elegant, cursed, and terrifyingly human. The first werewolf came from ancient Greece. King Lycaon served Zeus a meal of human flesh and was cursed to become a wolf. The punishment reflected an old truth. The line between man and beast is thin. Norse warriors called berserkers wore wolf pelts to channel animal rage. Medieval Europe turned the myth into horror. Men cursed by moonlight to become monsters. The werewolf still howls through our fears, not of monsters outside us, but the wild one inside. Long before the word witch meant evil, it meant power. In Greek myth, Hecate ruled crossroads, ghosts, and the moon. Circe and Medea could bend nature itself to their will. But power outside the control of men frightened ancient societies. Over time, the witch was twisted from healer and priestess into the devil's servant. The flying broomstick, the cauldron, the black cat, each symbol came from medieval superstition. The witch's story is the story of how the world turned fear into punishment and magic into myth. Deep beneath Egyptian sands, the dead were wrapped and buried with gold, food, and prayers, all to ensure a safe journey to the afterlife. Disturbing a tomb meant breaking divine order. Ancient texts spoke of spells to protect the dead, not for their safety, but for ours. Centuries later, when archaeologists opened Pharaoh Tutankhamun's tomb, several of them mysteriously died, and newspapers whispered of a curse. Whether real or coincidence, the idea of an awakened mummy, a soul robbed of its eternal rest, still terrifies us. From the deserts of Arabia comes the ghoul, a creature born from sand and death. In 1001 Nights, ghouls lured travelers into the dunes, devouring their flesh and stealing their form. In some tales, they haunted graveyards, feeding on corpses and bones. Unlike zombies, ghouls were cunning, part demon, part human, all hunger. The ghoul's myth reminds us that death isn't always peaceful. Sometimes it bites back. In 1818, Mary Shelley dreamt of a scientist who created life and was horrified by it. But her story wasn't new. The Greeks had Prometheus, who defied Zeus by creating mankind from clay and giving them fire. The Jewish legend of the Golem told of a man made of earth, brought to life by sacred words. Frankenstein's creature combined these myths with modern science, a monster born from human ambition and loneliness. He isn't evil, he's abandoned, a godless Prometheus wandering in search of a soul. Death has always had a face. The Greeks called him Thanatos, a beautiful silent god. But during Europe's Black Death, when corpses filled the streets, that face changed. Artists drew death as a skeleton in a black cloak, carrying a scythe to harvest souls. The Grim Reaper became death itself, impartial, inevitable, unstoppable. Even today, when we picture dying, we still see his shadow waiting in the dark. Goblins crawled out of medieval Europe's darkest corners. Miners in Germany blamed kobolds for accidents underground. In Scotland, redcaps murdered travelers and dyed their hats in blood. English boggarts haunted houses, hiding tools or tangling hair. They were spirits of chaos, small, cruel, unpredictable. While fairies could bless, goblins only cursed. Their myth endures because they embody every petty, mischievous thing we can't control. Every culture fears what lingers after death. The Greeks believed in shades, pale spirits wandering the underworld. The Chinese honored ghosts each hungry ghost festival, feeding those trapped between worlds. The Celts believed that during Samhain, the ancestor of Halloween, the barrier between life and death weakened, letting spirits walk among us. Fires were lit, masks were worn, and offerings left out, the very first trick or treat. When you see a ghost on Halloween night, you're witnessing the world's oldest superstition: the dead never truly rest. The zombie rose not from Europe, but from Haitian voodoo. A zombie was a corpse revived by a sorcerer, forced into servitude, robbed of its will. It wasn't about eating brains, it was about losing freedom, body, and soul. When Hollywood discovered the myth, it became the perfect metaphor for modern fears: disease, conformity, apocalypse. Yet the original zombie still whispers a darker truth. The scariest thing isn't death. It's being alive without a soul. From gods and demons to science and superstition, every Halloween monster has ancient roots. They began as myths meant to explain the world, and ended as reflections of our deepest fears: the vampire's hunger, the witch's power, the reaper's inevitability. So when the lights flicker this Halloween night, remember, the monsters at your door aren't just stories, they're memories, thousands of years old. If you've enjoyed uncovering the ancient origins of Halloween's monsters, from vampires to witches to the Grim Reaper, then join me for more. Subscribe to Myths of Old, where ancient gods, forgotten monsters, and timeless legends are brought back to life.